Okay.
Thomas Friedman describes globalization as an era of the empowered individual. We are no longer in the age where governments are the sole dictators of international politics. Now, a business can have just as much influence on the global stage as a government. This is most recently apparent in the dispute between the People's Republic of China and Google Incorporated.
Chinese government reacted angrily this morning to Google's announcement that it would no longer self-censor content and was closing its search engine in China. China called the move totally wrong and accused the company of violating promises. China manages the internet according to law, says this foreign ministry spokesman, and our stance on it is firm.
January 12, 2010, Google said it and other companies were the target of cyber attacks originating in China aimed at gaining access to the email of Chinese advocates for human rights. They announced that it is no longer willing to comply with China's requirements that it censor the results of searches in China. Gmail accounts of dozens of human rights activists connected with China were being routinely accessed by third parties. Over the past year, China has tried to limit free speech on the web, including blocking sites such as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google Docs, and Blogger.
China will inevitably become less innovative, less hooked into the world economy, and less able to compete globally. Without the free flow of information, researchers will be less able to innovate, and so China won't be able to compete with the U.S.
Google has responded to the strict Chinese government by shifting its infamous search engine off in the China mainland as of March 22, 2010. However, they will continue other operations in the country, like engineering and sales. Visitors to Google's old service for China are now redirected to the service based in Hong Kong, where Google does not censor the search results. Google's stand against China has been applauded, but it is predicted that China will ultimately have more power. Legally, Google was required to adhere to Chinese laws, and now that they are not, it could possibly run Google out of China completely. This also affects owners of Chinese businesses who may be more reluctant to advertise on Google now. It also raises awareness about China's strict online censorship and freedom of speech as a whole. Globalization is so evident in this situation. It allows the world to see that the internet can have just as much impact, if not more, as an entire country.
A major row has been brewing between China and Google, and today the internet giant announced that it is moving its main search engine for China to Hong Kong. The shift is an attempt to get around being censored by the Chinese government, and people logging onto Google's Chinese site will be automatically redirected.
Due to the limitations put on Chinese people on what is able to be accessed through the internet, brings a whole new aspect into the firewall that has created huge criticism from the political and social point of view. The Chinese government uses censorship in order to maintain their political order. The problem that has emerged is that by censoring the subjects the Communist Party deems to be inappropriate for the public, the People's Republic of China is limiting the freedom of speech online.
Google has faced a huge issue with Chinese censorship of their searches, which has caused them to possibly pull out of China. Their issue consists of free speech being taken away from Chinese citizens. Google has a policy of being a do-no-evil company. This is going to have to change in order to deal with the problems China is bringing to them. Google must break down to follow some of China's censorship rules in order to keep any business there. China is not a market that Google can ignore. China has faulted their reputation and integrity throughout this process. Google's business in China is not huge, but it could drive further growth, especially if Google were to gain more traction in the country. Google's share in China is 15 to 20%, much lower than Baidu, which is 75 to 80%. If Google ultimately decides to pull out of China, the company would leave behind a massive market of internet users to China's homegrown competition, as well as Google rivals